welcome to today's speed build. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us, and if not, then welcome back. So today we are building in the world of Sulani, and I am so excited to get into this speed build because we are actually building something a little bit different today, and I'm just so happy with how this turned out. So my initial idea for this build was I wanted to build something here that I could really fit into the already pre-existing landscape, and something that would kind of, fit the vibe of this world really nicely. And I just wanted to build something that kind of looked like it was a mixture of man-made but also kind of recycled in a way. Don't know if recycled is the best word, but what I ended up coming up with was I thought it would be really fun to take what seems to be an almost abandoned shipyard and make it into a now functioning little community. So this was something that I thought up a little while ago, and I was trying to work out the best way to do it. I knew that I wanted to build in Sulani. Like, this was the absolute perfect spot for it to go, because this is our like beachy, this is our like tropical world, and I thought that this was a really good place, not only for that reason, but because I feel like Sulani, the people of Sulani, are really good at reimagining things, really good at reusing items, really good at being creative and coming up with their own things. And I feel like they are so good at being resourceful as well. And obviously with these pirate ships being here, I mean, I don't know what the history is, but clearly these have washed up, or maybe they were used. I don't really know, but either way, they've been here for a long time, and they didn't want to necessarily get rid of them. So they decided, instead of getting rid of them, why don't they reuse them as something? So that's exactly what they did, and they ended up having this really nice community full of people, full of houses, shops. As I was saying, like, this place ends up being a really nice community. So this ends up having a lot of different things for your Sims to do. Now, this specific area that I'm building right now, you can see that I'm spending a long time on it. I am actually taking this ship, which is from the Get Famous expansion pack, and as you can see, I'm kind of like almost making it functional. That's exactly what I was trying to do here. Now, with this item that I'm using, you can see that like it's actually more of like a debug item. I believe it's supposed to be like a set piece, because like the Get Famous pack is all about actors and, being on set, and I wanted your Sims to actually be able to go on top of this ship and look out and like actually stand up here. So I decided I was going to make that happen. I just needed to figure out exactly how to do that. And so what I did was I took the item piece and I raised it up slightly higher so that I could put a platform underneath, and also so that the stairs could align with the real stairs that I put in. It meant that I was able to camouflage the stairs and make it so it doesn't look super obvious, so that when your Sims are walking up the stairs, it almost looks like they're walking up the actual ones that are connected to the ship, if that makes sense. Now, on top of the deck where I've kind of created my own platform, I actually end up putting a telescope there, so your Sims can stand on like the rear end of the ship and they can look out with their telescope. And honestly, it is so cute for taking screenshots. I was having so much fun with it, so you will see that in the screenshots at the end of the video. But yeah, I thought that was super cool, so I really hope you guys appreciate that, because it took a little bit of extra time, but honestly, I thought it was totally worth it. You can see now this is where I end up kind of perfecting that platform just to add a little bit more room, and I think you will see me putting the telescope up here as well. But honestly, with this build, it was all about that kind of precision, just making sure everything's slotted in together all right, and yeah, just making sure it kind of worked the best it could. Now, I did a whole lot of playtesting for this build because I was using so much debug, like as in every single household, and I will get onto the households very soon, end up being made out of these like broken pieces of pirate ships. I needed to make sure that everything functioned and that there wasn't going to be issues with routing, because in The Sims, I'm sure we're all aware of it. That is probably one of the biggest issues that we have. So trust me, I was trying my best. I was like, okay, I need to make sure that this is really functional. If any build needs to be tested for functionality, it's definitely this one. So yeah, I do check everything. Everything seems to be okay. So yeah, hopefully all is good if you do want to download this. By the way, my gallery information is in the description. So if you want to check it out, yeah, just go down there and have a wee look for my gallery ID, and you'll be able to download this. But I do want to talk a little bit about the actual houses or residentials that end up being here. So there actually ends up being 5 possible residentials. By that, what I mean is I ended up making 5 different units. Now, some of them are like on the same ship, but one is like the top floor and then the bottom floor, you know, almost like a cottage flat situation, except it's a ship. And I can imagine that what happened was the Sims, you know, they obviously took these ships, they've been here ages, so these ships have been like broken in half, they're kind of fallen apart, they're not fully together. And so what they did was they took the broken bits of wood and they actually crafted them into houses, and they managed to put those houses like in between. And I imagine that they kept the actual outlinings of the ship as well, just in case Sims wanted to, you know, stand on the end, or they wanted to use it as a kind of porch or something like this, you know, just something to kind of still be using those areas and making the most out of them. But yeah, that's how I kind of thought they did it. And as I was saying, there ends up being like 2 floors, or like, well, so I think 2 of them have 2 floors, and then one of them has 2 floors, but the top floor is actually a bathroom. That sounds a little bit confusing, but you'll see when we move on to it, kind of how I ended up doing it. Now, also on this lot, there ends up being a shop. Now, the shop, I think, I was trying to research what it's called, and from what I could find, I think it's called a tackle shop. And what that is it's essentially a shop that sells buoys. It sells like nets and fishing rods and fish and things like this, and bait, stuff like that, just so that the people that are living here can, like, you know, catch the fish and eat them, I suppose. The big ship at the back, that is like the central hub area. That's where all the Sims go. That's kind of like the entertainment, restaurant, RA kind of situation. And so, you know, I imagine that they sell a lot of seafood on there as well, just because that's what they have the most access to. But yeah, that ends up being that kind of like big hub central zone. Now here is me starting work on the first house. I don't know if house is the right word. I wanted to say apartments as well, but I'm like, is apartments the right word? Like, I don't really know, but this is the first kind of like residential zone. And so as you can see, I've made the roof out of this like scrap metal, and then the walls are made out of this like kind of done in wood. The top floor here has a balcony, which is super cute. But yeah, I just tried to kind of fit it in with the vibe the best I could, and I'm hoping that it does look okay. I ended up for, I think, the interiors doing them very last, just because it was easier for me to get the overall shape and then to move on to the inside, which is typically what I do when it comes to build. I just like to get the exterior done first. But I am now building at nighttime, and that is because it was really important to me that this build looks really nice at nighttime. Why, are you wondering? I don't really know. I feel like it just sets a really nice scene, like having all the lights lit up. I also love that the ships light up. Like, I never added anything to them, they just actually do light up when it's nighttime, which I thought was so cool. So I was like, yeah, why not? Like, let's just keep that in. Now here you're gonna see me struggling. This was me trying to build this house, except it's on an angle, so I was kind of struggling, but I got there eventually. It ends up being a super odd shape, but honestly I really like the way this looks. I think it looks super cool. So this ends up being 2 units, and you're probably thinking, that top unit, Hannah, is very, very small. I do end up expanding it ever so slightly just so that I could fit a bathroom in there, because when I moved onto the inside I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do here? So yeah. Don't worry about that too much. Now, in terms of who's living in these, as I was saying, of course, this area is just kind of been built up for, you know, the people that live here on Sulani, and it's just for people that kind of want somewhere to stay, or people that, you know, are quite interested in staying here. It actually ends up being taken up by a variety of people. By that I mean like a variety of different kinds of families, because we end up having couples, we end up having single sims, we end up having like actual families with kids and stuff. So yeah, there ends up being a nice wide variety, which I loved. Now down here, this is where I start work on building eventually the like little tackle shop. I'm gonna keep calling it that. I feel like that's what it's called, so I think that is what it's called. But yeah, and I've also brought out all of these boxes, as you can probably see, all of these crates and things. Now that is because I imagine this shop has a very big fish supply, it has a lot of seafood supply, and I created a small little platform on the side where I imagine they kind of they go out there and they, you know, I don't know, they get their stock and they bring it in, is what I was trying to say. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I honestly love this. I feel like it looks really nice. I'm really glad that I added this, because at first I wasn't even thinking about adding something like this. And then I thought this would probably be what they would need to have here, just because otherwise they're probably going to struggle a little bit for getting their food and things, especially if they're wanting to like fish for stuff themselves. It's just much more convenient to have a shop like this. So yeah, it's also really good for like if they have people that are wanting to work here. I do feel like that little shop is like owned by a little old guy who's like really into fishing and stuff, so I thought that was pretty sweet. And then yeah, this little area that I'm building here, this ends up being really uneven, as you can see. No, I do end up fixing it, but this actually ends up being like an add-on to the big ship. So this is an outdoor restaurant area. So I think that this works in accordance with the like big restaurant ship next to it. I think that they're the same company, or like the same place, like they sell the exact same food and stuff, but it's just an outdoor seating version maybe. Obviously you could have it be different, you could have this be like a little market area that's kind of different, but yeah, completely up to you. I just figured that because they're so close to each other, they're most likely kind of owned by the same person. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Now, something else I haven't spoken about yet that we end up having is actually like little stalls. Now, I didn't use the pre-made stalls from the game. I actually ended up creating my own, and they're not necessarily functional, but I think you can possibly maybe make them functional if you added, I don't know, I know you can add like the yard sale table and stuff, but then I don't know, I don't know how that would work. I think it would work in a way, but I'm not too sure the logistics of it. But I ended up just kind of making them for decoration because I thought they looked pretty good. So hopefully you do like it, or you like how it looks. And yeah, sorry in advance that it's actually not functional, but I still think it ends up looking pretty cool. Now I ended up adding this piece here. This is just like a debug area, and I believe this is kind of maybe where they would go to catch most of their fish. Maybe this is where they go to like feed them. I don't know. I just wanted to include it, but I do think that is most likely what this is. I did add like starfish and stuff, so you could even do the opposite. You could have it so that that's an area where they kind of look at things. I don't like the idea that they would like trap the fish in there though, so maybe it's somewhere that the fish can go or something like this. It was just an item that I came across and I thought it kind of worked with this little community, so I decided to add it in. But obviously I feel like you can interpret things however you like and kind of, you know, use your imagination to work things out. I feel like when I'm building, although I might have an idea in my mind, I'm like completely fine if you want to change stuff, if you want to add things. Like, I honestly find it super cool if you do stuff like that. So yeah, let me know what you think about it and stuff. But we are working on the stalls just now, and you'll kind of see my misconception of how big a sim is here, because right now it might be hard to tell, but I am like, these items are tiny. Like, you probably don't realize it, but those items I just placed there are tiny. So I end up going back and I end up sizing everything up, which you do see me do. But I needed to mention it because for some reason I just had this complete misconception of how big these stalls should be, how big the barrels should be. Yeah, your sim probably wouldn't even fit under one of those. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But as you can see, we're starting work on one of the other houses. So this is the like third little household that I'm starting work on. I'm kind of moving around the place doing different things, so sorry about that, but I'm a kind of frantic builder, which I always try my best to like try and steer away from, but it's just always been in my bones. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, for that like other area that I was just doing, you may be seeing that I added like a flooring to the debug ships. The reason I did that for them is because I felt like it made it look a little bit more realistic. It kind of made it look like there was actually a bottom to the ship instead of, you know, leaving it out and it just looks like there's water piling in. I felt like that probably wasn't the best look to go for. Something I am curious about is how people play with this build. If people play with it more towards like a nighttime kind of nightlife, or if people would rather play with it during the day and have it like be nice and bright. Because when I was building it, I was thinking, oh, this would look so cool at night, and I was trying to steer it around that kind of nighttime play. But yeah, I kind of feel like people might want to play with it during the day as well, which honestly I feel like it looks really nice both ways, but I really like it at nighttime. I don't know, it just looks really cool. But anyway, here's me fixing those stalls and actually realizing they were tiny. I mean, you can see the size of this little table here. Like, this table looks huge and like it's really not. So yeah, but anyway, it ends up looking a little bit better. So I imagine the Sims sitting here just selling some stuff. I just thought it looked pretty sweet. They're just like little stalls. I think there ends up being 3 stalls. There's only 2 right now, but I'm sure I do add a third one as well. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Now, I do want to talk about something. I don't want to talk about something to do with this build right now. I want to talk about something pretty exciting because I feel like I need to address it. We are getting the Enchanted by Nature expansion pack in how many days? Wait, let me do the math. 6 days? 6 days? Now, I have been watching the what is it called, pre-release content, like people that have early access, the early access content that people have been uploading for it, and oh my gosh, I am so excited. I have seen the map overview and I need to talk about it. Like, it looks so nice. Now, I know a lot of people were kind of talking about the map overview and they were not too sure, which is completely understandable, like before it came out, because we were a little bit disappointed with the Realm of Magic world. Now, I think the difference is that the Realm of Magic pack was a game pack, so as well as like werewolves. So I think there's like, what, 4 lots on each, which is always kind of annoyed me more with the werewolves pack, just because I love werewolves so much and I love Moonwood Mill, but I've always felt like, why didn't we get more? Like, why didn't we have more lots? But I do understand it. It was a, you know, it's obviously a cheaper pack, it's a different type of pack. But with the Enchanted by Nature expansion, this is obviously, as it just says, an expansion. So it's a huge pack, and by the looks of it, there seems to be like, is it like 5 lots per area, which I think is great. Like, I feel like it's much better than worlds such as Copperdale. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Copperdale so much, but it's another world where I've been a little bit underwhelmed when it's came to the lots, just because I feel like they're pretty small or pretty sparse. But when it comes to this new one, the Inniscreen, I believe it's called, it looks really good. It honestly does. Now, of course, I've not played the game. I've not I've not played the expansion. I've not had any early access, so my opinions might change. I'll definitely be telling you about my opinions once I actually get the pack, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, my initial reaction to it right now is that I think it looks really nice and I'm super excited for it. But yeah, what do you guys think? I know that you've probably been the same as me watching all these videos, so let me know. I would love to hear what you think. Also, of course, with the release of the new expansion pack, I'm definitely going to be making a build once that comes out with the new expansion. I just need to figure out exactly what I want to make, because at the moment I'm not 100% sure. Oh, also I'm adding the sails right now. I was going through like so many different curtains trying to figure this out, which I did end up cutting out, but I ended up going for those ones and I thought they looked pretty nice. But I just wanted to mention that quickly. But yeah, I just need to try and figure out what exactly I want to build, but I'm just so excited. I'm definitely going to be building in the new world. I just need to figure out what, because obviously it's going to have to be fairy orientated, and I just did a fairy build. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. I built like a fairy tree house just for a little kind of like exciting video to post before the new expansion, because I really just couldn't wait, and I was like, I want to build something. So yeah, I'll definitely need to update that build when the pack comes out and just kind of add a little bit more to it, but I'm so excited. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts, and let me actually probably talk about this build. Actually, while I'm on the topic, wouldn't it be really cool to have a kind of like more pirate focused expansion pack? I know that that's not so much like an occult or anything that we have in the game, but you know, we obviously with Sulani have like mermaids, kind of. I feel like it would just be so cool to maybe have an add-on to mermaids, you know, like, I don't know, like, I know we have Sulani, and I know that we have Island 11, and like we do have mermaids, but do you know what I mean? Just to have maybe even like a game pack or a kit that's more primarily focused towards your kind of like mermaids and stuff. I feel like that would be super cool. Let me know. Maybe you're thinking, no, like we have enough, which is fair, but I just think that would be so cool. But anyway, I am adding the kind of final touches to the exterior parts of the ship, which was that like extra leaves and things. And then I realized, hey, I've kind of completely abandoned the beach area. So this ends up being full of palm trees. I've got some different kinds of ships just to add a little bit of variety, because I feel like I just used a lot of the same ships, obviously. So I thought it was nice to include these. And yeah, this area honestly doesn't end up having much, because I didn't really imagine your Sims being on this part of the lot too much, but I decided to add some plants and stuff, make it feel a little bit more alive. I also added these kind of like telephone poles. You can see a little bit of it, but I added those in the water, which it doesn't sound like a great idea, I know, but it has like this grass or like this kind of seaweed around it. So I was thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe this is how they get power and things. I don't know. See, when I'm building, I have such the imagination that maybe nothing makes sense, but I kind of like that. A lot of the time with my builds, I do try and think logically, but I also don't like to think too logically, because I think it takes away the fun. Like, I like the idea of fantasy. I'm such a fantasy person, and I like things to be a little bit more out there and different. So yeah, if you're ever watching my videos and thinking, that makes no sense, I don't mean things like I've missed out a cooker, because that actually doesn't make sense, and that's just me being me. I mean things like when I'm just adding in random things. Honestly, I just like it. I just like doing it. But yeah, it's just a thing that I've kind of always done. But yeah, I did add fish to these waters so that you can actually fish them out if you want to. And I also just thought it looks nice. I know you can't actually like fish the fish out, but it like makes it look more realistic if you go fishing, if that makes sense. Now I think we're going to be moving on to the interiors very soon, which I'm super excited about for you guys to see. I also wanted to say, if you did manage to make it this far in the video so far, I mean, first of all, thank you so much. But also comment a little like pirate flag emoji. I'm sure we have one. I'm pretty sure there's one. It's not like the Mandela effect. Like, you know how everyone thought that there was the burglar emoji, which I swear there was. Like, you know, does anyone else remember that emoji? But I'm pretty sure there's actually the little pirate flag emoji. So yeah, you can comment that down below if you made it this far. But anyways, we are moving on to the interior. Now, you will notice that the inside of here is pretty like dark. The reason for that is actually because you can see like the stairs are obviously leading to that upper deck, and the upper deck is exposed to sunlight, and because of that I think that this like area down here technically thinks it's outside just because of that, which is really annoying. Like, I hate that, but also it's whatever. So what I ended up doing when I do move on to like actually decorating this place, I end up making it nighttime so that all the lights light up and so that you can actually see what I'm doing properly. But yeah, I'm just adding in the curtains just now. So this area here ends up being almost like an entertainment stage. We end up putting some instruments here, like a microphone. That's not an instrument, is it? No. Like a microphone, guitars, pianos, things like this, so that an entertainer probably gets hired, comes up here, or maybe doesn't get hired but maybe just like works here all the time, like someone that, you know, has been doing this for a little while. But yeah, I love this area so much. This is what I mean by it's such like a nightlife vibe. It just works so nicely at nighttime. I added so much lighting. We've got the big grand piano. I also end up adding an electric piano. I never used these little candle items, but I thought they looked so cool, so I popped those in as well. And yeah, I had a little bit of trouble trying to decide what I wanted to put on this wall because it looked very bland, but I was like, I don't know what to put here. So yeah, you'll see a lot of just changing between things, which I always wonder, like, do you mind me doing that? But I feel like it's quite good to do because it's pretty realistic and it shows that it takes me quite a while to come up with designs and stuff. So yeah, hopefully you don't mind it too much. But yeah, I love this area. So there also ends up being a little a dining space down here. So I imagine that the Sims, you know, they get served food or drinks. There ends up being a bar. It's the little like globe bar that I ended up using. I love that thing so much. So your Sims can actually grab a drink and sit down and enjoy the entertainment. Maybe it's like a comedy club that they have on here as well, or maybe they have like different things every week or different days of the week. So maybe they have like Monday like a performer, and then like Tuesday they might have like a musical band, and then on Wednesdays they might have a singer, and then Fridays and Saturdays maybe they have comedians, and then on Sundays maybe they try and turn it into more of like a brunchy little vibe. I don't know, something like this. I feel like there's so much creativity that you can do with this, so just thought I would throw out a few ideas for you guys. But yeah, I added a lot of plants because I am a plant fanatic. I love plants. I actually think, see, when I eventually kind of get like my own proper place, I feel like it's going to be full of plants. Although I feel like at the moment I'm not great when it comes to plants. Like, I don't have any in my room because I used to, and I was really bad with like remembering to water them and stuff. So I feel like when it comes to my house it would be different. I don't know, I just have a feeling that it would be different. But yeah, I now kind of stick to like fake plants because they're a lot easier to deal with. But you know, if I can remember to feed my cats, my dog, and my rabbit all the time, I feel like I remember to plant things to water plants. What am I talking about? Anyway, we have started with the little dining area. So this, I just love. It's like these little high chair areas. I don't know if high chair is the word, but yeah, it's like the high up seats, more aimed towards drinking than eating, but I can imagine they do both. I also added these, so they're like little bottles with notes in them. Now, I feel like these are obviously for decoration, but maybe they're like, actual, maybe they're like drinks that you can order, and like maybe the paper is obviously not actually paper. Maybe it has like a fortune in it. How cool would that be? And it's like made out of something like it's laminated so that it doesn't just, disintegrate into your juice. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. Are you catching them? I don't know. I'm just throwing them out there. But maybe that would be pretty cool. I just really like the item. I actually went and seen like Sting not too long ago, like last week, and obviously the Sting, if you don't know, he's from, well, the singer, is from The Police, and The Police have a song called Message in a Bottle. And when I had added those, I was like, that's so funny because I just seen Sting sing Message in a Bottle. And yeah, I just thought it was funny. Funny coincidence. But anyway, that is off topic, but I just wanted to mention it. But I added a lot of pictures in here. I added some rugs. I added lots of decoration, lots of plants, books. As I say, there ends up being another piano which I add very, very soon. I love these rugs that I added, like the green ones. They just look so good. Those are from the Werewolves expansion, one of my favorite packs, game pack, sorry, not expansion, but one of my favorites. Honestly, love it so much. But here is the little bar that I was talking about, and then I end up putting a piano here as well, which I kind of second guessed because I was like, does this even make sense? But I actually really liked how it looked, so I decided to keep it. Now here is me making this area functional, and oh, I love it so, so much. So your Sims can actually come out here. They can actually like sit and, well, stand with their drinks. They can talk, and then they can go up the staircase, and they can actually go up there and do stargazing, which I think it's so cool. Like, it's really nice trying to make objects that are not functional into functional objects. I just think it's so incredibly cool, so I just loved it. But yeah, I added like some little lights and stuff up here as well. There's the telescope, and yeah, I did play test it because I was like, I'm really intrigued as to if this actually works, and it did. And it was like that feeling of proud accomplishmentness. That is my new word. I just made it up and it's my new word. Anyway, I was going to add a little kitchen up here so that it could kind of work as a restaurant, but I decided against it. I don't know, it didn't look as organic, it didn't look amazing like the way I wanted it to, so I decided just to leave it as is. I think you actually, yeah, you end up seeing me play test with it. Like, how cool does that look? I just thought that looked so cool. And so yeah, I just kept her up there, so if you just see her in the background like, hi, that is why. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure it worked, and it did, and honestly I was just so happy with it. Now here originally, you can see I'm like adding to the bottom floor. I actually originally was gonna try and make this functional, but because it is on a diagonal, I wasn't able to put the stairs where I wanted, so it just wasn't really possible. So I decided I wasn't going to make it functional. I was just going to do what I could and make this into the 2 units, which honestly I think worked a lot better. But yeah, there ends up being like a staircase leading up, which I was kind of deciding if I was against it or not, because I was like, does this look a bit weird? But I actually really like it. It utilized the space a lot better, so I thought it worked really nicely. And here's me adding the extra space for a bathroom. Thank God, because we would have been struggling otherwise, let me tell you. There was like no room otherwise, so this was the best thing for me to do. Now, I'm not too sure if I move on to this household just now. I feel like I do. I think I do. I think I decorated it just now. So this little apartment area here ends up being for one single sim. So imagine there's just one sim living here. It's a very small little place. They've got their own little bathroom. They end up having a TV, a fridge. Every house has a fridge, a cooker, and a spare counter for them to obviously cook on. Oh, don't even watch me with this with this roof. I did decide to keep it in because I thought it was so funny that I was trying to actually put a roof there, but yeah. But anyway, every house ends up having like a cooker, a fridge and a spare counter, and everyone has a bathroom as well. So that's what this one ends up having. They end up having a television, and they also end up having like a bunk bed, because I felt like that was the best way to utilize the space. They also have a dresser because I felt like that was just necessary to add. So yeah, I didn't really have much of a storyline in mind for this person. I did imagine that they're maybe younger and that's why they live alone. Maybe they just are, I don't know, maybe they just recently moved in here, they needed somewhere to stay and they were like, why not? Like, these places I assume were going for a little bit cheaper than your general commercial areas, so they were like, why not? I'll stay here. Plus, like, you know, it's a nice little community, a nice little area of people, and yeah. So I thought that was a nice little storyline. I didn't really think too much into this sim. I just knew that they were a younger kind of single sim. But yeah, originally I ended up just putting like one bed, like a normal bed, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm probably gonna need a bunk bed here, otherwise we're gonna fit nothing. Now, I did learn from my mistakes of my last video, because in my last video I ended up putting like a cooker, or no, it was a fridge, underneath a bunk bed. And did it function? No. So for this build, I ended up putting a dresser underneath, and that functioned absolutely beautifully, which I was super glad. I was super glad about, because yeah, I was really scared that it wasn't going to work. But yeah, I think you're able to put chairs and dressers underneath beds. It's just things that are like appliances and counters and such, they don't really work underneath the bunk beds. So I kept that in mind. Oh, desks as well. So yeah, I kept that in mind and made sure like not to do that this time, and I did play test it. It seemed to work absolutely perfectly. There was an issue with routing, or with actually functioning this little fridge, so I do end up moving it from where it originally ends up being. You'll see here in this like footage, it ends up being like kind of where it is right now, and ends up having a mirror in front of it. I ended up swapping those pieces around just because it wasn't functional otherwise. But yeah, you can see I've got the cooker and everything. It's such a small space that I'm dealing with right now. I will say, just in case you're thinking, oh no, this does end up being the smallest unit. So don't worry, there isn't a unit that is smaller than this one. This one is absolutely tiny, but I kind of like that. I like that there's different sizes. I think it's like better than them all being the same. And it made it less boring, because I actually had to work out the spaces and stuff. But yeah, this area here, the smallest possible one. But yeah, I ended up adding like little wall pieces, like decals and stuff, to make it look like they're kind of being bits of paper ripped off, and I just love it so much. I think it's so cute. Now, I ended up doing the downstairs neighbour. They end up having a much bigger space. It's still very small, but in comparison to the person above them, they are living in a mansion, to be honest. So this dynamic, I was thinking, was an older couple. So I had in mind like an old couple, like quite old, and they are staying here. And I was actually thinking that one of them, the guy I was thinking, the husband, is actually the person that works in the little tackle market. I thought that would be so nice. So like, he gets up from here, he goes over to the market and he works in there, and he helps everyone with like their fishing and stuff. And yeah, his wife lives with him in this little house, and she's just very supportive. She loves just like chilling out here, and she probably works maybe like on the boat, like maybe she's a server, or maybe she does some entertainment or something like this. I feel like that would be super cool. But yeah, I imagine that they both kind of work within this little community, which I thought was just so nice. But yeah, I really like this little house. Like, this unit worked out so nicely. I tried to use different curtains, different wallpaper and flooring for every unit. Well, I used the same flooring for like people that are in the exact, like the same building, but I tried to change it up for different units just to make it seem a little bit more realistic and stuff. But yeah, this is their little kitchen space. They've got their cooker, their fridge, their their little cabinet. And then I also end up having a dining table in here, and then of course like their bathroom as well. I realized that the top floor didn't have a bin, so I added that bin outside, and I was thinking that they maybe come down to use the bin, which is a little bit of a hassle, I have to say. Like if that were me, I'd be like, oh no. But yeah, I imagine that they don't mind too much, so hopefully it's not too bad. But yeah, there ends up being a little dining table, and I end up also decorating their bathroom as well. I think this little couple is probably one of my favorite dynamics, just because I had more of like a idea in mind of what they look like and what they're like, and I think that they're so in love and they're so sweet, and yeah, I really like the idea of them. So they stay in here, and they've got like such a cozy little house. Honestly, I think they have one of the best units. I also thought that it made sense to make them the bottom unit, just because they are a little bit older, so they might have problems with kind of moving up and down stairs and stuff. So I thought this was probably the best way to do it for them. But yeah, I love their furniture. I think this is from Outdoor Retreat, possibly, like that nice like broken wood furniture. It just looks so nice. I love it. So I included that, and then they do have these little pictures on their table as well, so I was thinking maybe that's their grandchildren that probably still is somewhere else. I imagine that they're all grown up and things like that. And yeah, I just thought that was super cute. But yeah, now I don't end up showing me doing the bathrooms for the rest of the units, just because I feel like it's quite repetitive. Even though I do them very differently, I don't know, if it was a little bit boring, so I did cut them out. But yeah, it's honestly not too exciting. Like trust me, it's okay. I always tend to cut bathrooms out, and not even because I think they're bad or anything, or because I think I've done them badly. I just don't like them. Like I don't know, I find them boring. But even when I'm doing them, I'm like, this is boring. I don't want to decorate this bathroom unless it's a really cool bathroom. Like I recently did for one of my shorts, I did a Kung Fu Panda bathroom, and was that boring? Definitely not. I tell you, if it looked like a Kung Fu Panda bedroom, I would have kept it in the video. But it didn't look like a Kung Fu Panda bedroom. It looked like, sorry, bathroom, not bedroom. It looked like a normal bathroom with like a toilet and a sink, and yeah, wasn't too interesting. But anyway, we've moved on to the third unit. So this unit is for a couple and a baby. I thought that was so sweet. So it's like a couple of Sims, and they've got a little baby living in here as well, which I thought was super cute. They have, I'd say, like a decent amount of space, definitely less than the older couple, but still a generous amount. And they also end up having a cat, so they are winning in life. Now if you want to play with this lot, I highly recommend having the like animal hangout. Is it like cat and dog hangout trait? I know that there's a trait you can add to the lot, and it means that like strays will automatically come to your lot. And what you can do is you can make friends with them, and then it means that like they'll stay nearby and they'll keep coming back, but they're not going to actually take up a slot in your inventory, which I think is so nice. Or not your inventory, but your like Sims. It won't take up a slot, which I think is just a really nice way of doing it. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that. I feel like that's like, I love that you can do that. But yeah, I imagine that there's lots of strays that hang out here, and because there's so much fish and stuff, I think that the cats absolutely thrive. Like I feel like all the people living here like give out fish to the cats and stuff, and they absolutely love it. But yeah, this couple with this baby, this little family, they have a wee cat, and I imagine it's the cutest little thing. I was thinking like maybe a little like white cat, and oh, it's just so sweet. But yeah, so I added a little cat bed, some little cat bowls, and there also ends up being a litter tray just outside as well, just because I couldn't fit it on the inside. But yeah, I thought that was super sweet. You'll see me adding it just now. But like, how cute is that? So they're actually the only household that end up having a pet. But as I say, if you want to play with that, kind of trait on, then you could have everyone technically have a little pet. And you could even put like little food bowls around the place. I might add that, like before I upload it to the gallery, I think I might add that on and like have little food bowls around the place just for all the strays. It means that because even when you go, like when I go abroad and stuff, they always have little like feeding corners and feeding stations for the cats and dogs. So I feel like that would be a nice thing to include. So I think I'm going to add that in. But anyway, this next one, I think this is the second last. This is the third unit. This ends up being for two best friends. So there's two best friends living in here, and they have quite a generous amount of space. They also have a little balcony, which is super cute because no one else has a little balcony, so I thought that was nice. But yeah, they've got a little balcony and they have bunk beds, which they probably fight over all the time. Maybe they swap between the two, or I don't know, maybe there's one that really likes being on the top and one that really likes being on the bottom. I remember when I was younger, like me and my friend used to argue over bunks. But yeah, and she always ended up winning, which was sad. But yeah, I always wanted to be in the top bunk, and then yeah, I never got to it, except I think maybe once. And then when I was on the top bunk, I didn't like it because I was so used to being on the bottom, and I was like, I don't like this, it's too high up and I'm gonna fall out. But I didn't fall out, thankfully, probably because I stayed up all night trying not to fall out, but you know. But anyway, talking about this, so this is just like, it's like a cute little friend hangout little area. I love it so much. I think it's so cute. And there just ends up being these little beanbag chairs, a television, a little kitchen. The reason I put beanbag chairs is because I felt like it screamed teenager, and I wanted to I wanted it to come across that there's teenagers here, but I wanted to keep it on theme with the rest of the other little apartments. So yeah, hopefully it was kind of subtle enough, but also worked in a way. But yeah, now something I do want to mention, when we move on to the tackle like shop, I keep calling it that, and if it's wrong I am really sorry, but for some reason I thought I was recording and I actually wasn't, and because of that I ended up losing a little bit of footage of me doing stuff. So I did what I did in my bunker video, and I just like hit the backspace a bunch of times and then like kind of recorded it just so you could kind of see what I did. But I did end up adding on after that, so you still will be able to see everything and kind of what I was doing. It was just a small little portion of me like adding some extra items. I ended up kind of leaving them out, or not leaving them out, but not including them in the footage just because I thought I was recording and I wasn't. I think what I did is I think I possibly clicked to record, and then I think I might have clicked like the space bar and like it ended it or something like this, but it happens, you know. I feel like it's such a Ihanza thing to kind of have an error in my video or like have a issue with my footage, but all good. I feel like it's not too bad once we get to it. But anyway, we have moved on to the final unit. So this ends up being for, I was thinking, 2 Sims. And if you're thinking, hey, they don't have a bathroom, but they have a huge kitchen, they actually do have a bathroom, but it's upstairs and it's like a hexagon shape. And I don't include, like, I don't show me doing it, but it's literally just like a little bathroom. They do have to climb up and down a ladder to get there, so you might want this to be designed for younger Sims, because imagine like 2 old people trying to climb a ladder to get to the toilet. Like, that makes me sad. So I'm gonna imagine that this is actually for 2 younger Sims, even though I feel like the detail looks more aimed towards older. I'm gonna go with younger because I think it makes more sense. But I love this unit so much. I think it looks so nice, and I love the green color scheme. I feel like I stayed very true to that green, like everything's green. But yeah, I really like how this turned out. I think it looks really nice. I feel like for the other rooms, like I didn't coordinate them this well, but this one just, I really like. But yeah, I was just imagining two Sims, and honestly, they have quite a lot of space, so lucky them. But we're moving on finally to this little shop. So the way it works is there ends up being this big open window in the back. And what happens is you go around to technically like the back of the shop and you can buy your stuff and he'll like hand it out to you. Now, what I imagine is you can also go inside the shop if you would like to, but I think if you're just buying like, you know, general things like maybe bait or like you're just wanting to buy something pretty simple, you just go to that little window and he'll give it to you. But if you're wanting to actually come in, have a closer look, maybe look at different types of fishing rods, maybe look at different things like nets and stuff, then you know, it's better to go inside and he'll give you a little rundown of, oh, this is what this one does and this is this one, and he kind of talks them through. I thought that was pretty nice. I did add these little like boy things around the place as well. And I was gonna add this flag, but it looked a little bit out of place, so I decided against it. But yeah, I really love this shop. Honestly, the color scheme, the like items that I used, I love it so much. I was actually a little bit devastated when I realized that some of the like recording had been cut, just because I had so much fun with cluttering this place up, and I really wanted you guys to see it. But you do still see everything, and I do add stuff like afterwards as well, so it's not too bad. But you know, it's just that feeling when like your heart sinks and you're like, oh no, I've missed stuff out. But yeah, not a big deal, but I was a bit like, oh no, oh no. I was also in the middle of like watching Grey's Anatomy, so I was so focused on that as well, and I was like, wait a minute, what have I done? But yeah, I really like this. There's a little like crab cage underneath as well. I will say it makes me sad because I love fish and I love like marine life. I love like sea creatures. So this did make me, it was sad, but I was trying not to think about it too much and just thinking about it in like you know, it fit the theme of the area. So I thought, you know, it worked really nicely. So yeah, I do that with a lot of things. You need to just think, it's The Sims. It's The Sims. But yeah, I really like how this turned out, honestly. I just think it looks so cute. And I tried to add as many things as I could. I used, again, a lot of the Cats and Dogs expansion because that's such a coastal pack. It just worked so well for this. So yeah, I thought that looked really good, but I think you're going to see kind of where the footage cuts out soon, and then I end up like deleting things. But yeah, hopefully it's not too annoying because I can imagine. But yeah, this was kind of what you missed out on. It honestly, it is quite a bit, but I tried my best to kind of, you know, add it all in. But yeah, it honestly wasn't loads, but anyway. I do just want to say we're coming to the end of this video, which is crazy. Like, it feels like it's flown in, but I do just want to say a massive thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!